And welcome to part 2 of the Battle of Gazala on Let's Play Battlefield 1942. I've opted for the southern route here. I actually didn't want to go this way, but since I saw another tank going this way, this is pretty much the only way that we can make sure that we have two tanks together. You can't control where the other people decide to go, so if you want to stick together, you got to follow one of them. It's also not that much more distant. It seems that way because you go slow around this pass over here. But it can be very valuable. You go over here, the British usually do not expect you to attack this flag from this location because the Germans are generally disinclined to do that on this map. And they can't see you coming either. You just kind of show up right at the rear of the base, and once you've taken this base, you can attack two other ones right after another. Soldiers do tend to hide in that little house over there. For some reason, it's always that same one. They can also hide behind the house and keep the flag neutral. Usually they don't know to do that. That guy spawned in as a bazooka, so there's pretty much no way that he wasn't going to try to do something at least. But if you really want to do good guerrilla tactics on this map, you can stay out of the way, wait for the tanks to leave, and then recapture the flag without opposition right after. I remember many years ago, basically that was the only thing I did. I was first learning how to play, so I just said, okay, I'll just own that flag pretty much. That'll be my flag. There's 15 other people on my team, and I'll just kind of hang back and keep recapturing that flag over and over again. And it was funny because the other side never learned to defend the flag. They just kept letting me capture it over and over again. This repair pad that I'm sitting on right now is often mined. If you want to defend this point, spawn as an engineer and put landmines underneath it. Okay, I've just been team switched, so after helping the Germans get two flags there, I've got to spawn in on the British side and help them out for a bit. It's always kind of frustrating to be team switched when you're invested in the idea of turning things around for the other side, but I guess it's a necessity just to keep the teams even. In this case, it's an automatic script, I believe, that was doing it. So sometimes it'll see like two more people on one side and it'll automatically switch someone. Since we lost this fourth flag, I've been calling it the fourth flag. Its name is something like Gazala or something like that. I have no idea how to pronounce it, but I'm sure there's a good reason why it's called that. Anyways, it's such an important flag that if you're on the British side and you aren't guaranteed to get a tank spawning at one of the other flags, you should spawn at the main base and drive up here. There's another British tank already assaulting the flag from a different location, so we should have a pretty good chance of taking this. Infantry tend to defend this flag pretty aggressively. They don't want it to change hands because often they're sitting here waiting for one of the two tanks to respawn. Not sure what happened over there. Anyways, once you take this flag, you should, especially if you took a tank from the British main base, you should bring it up to the other three and help out over there. Although this map has been going on for a while, both sides have inflicted ticket bleed on the other. It's interesting to see how close the tickets are. You really have to do ticket bleed for quite a while to make a big difference. This is a fairly low scoring map. That is to say, people don't get quite as many kills on this map as they do on the other ones. So the ticket bleed becomes a much bigger percentage of how the tickets get knocked down. Because of the splash damage, you can actually knock anyone who's on that upper floor. You aim for the underside of the ceiling, and the splash damage knocks them out. Now, the Germans have entered their nightmare scenario. When one side holds all of the flags, there is an extreme danger that you're not ever going to get back in the game. It's such a long distance from your main base to any flag, and the other side's probably going to be pounding you with the airplanes, knocking out your tanks while they're in transit, and the enemy team's tanks are probably going to roll in there and start spawn camping you. So, I mean, you should get an advantage to having captured all of the flags, but on this map it can kind of ruin the map for the other side. Pretty much their only hope at that point is to either try again, rolling the tanks up from the main base to one point, or they can try to bail out of an airplane and capture an undefended flag. I guess both of us tanks are going to start rolling down toward their main base. Even on a server, and I believe this is one of them, where you're not permitted to base camp with tanks. The enemy main base is so large, and it's so separate from everything else, that you don't really have to spawn camp to pen people in. All you have to do is control this, some part of this long area, this long road, from the main base to the nearest flag. And that effectively cuts them off. Furthermore, it's worth pointing out that this long period of time that it takes them to do anything, I mean, you just see that ticket bleed really taking a toll on them. Already they're down by almost 60 tickets, and before it was very close. Just interdicting the enemy as they try to roll out of here has basically the same effect as base camping. They can't really do anything. Often they'll try to take a jeep and go to the secret airfield, which is basically their last hope of getting some kind of airplane. Usually at this point, if not tanks, then enemy aircraft will be completely destroying all the planes that spawn in at their airfield. Looks like one of the hostile tanks managed to slip the net, so I'm going to chase after him. Be the good strategic player, good teamwork, I guess. Yeah, it looks like they already managed to get someone over to that flag. Since I'm going the same speed as the other tank, I probably won't get in line for a good shot against him until I get right up against the flag, and they may have tank superiority. Okay, yeah, they've already got a tank. Luckily, that guy did not see me from earlier, so I was able to get some good hits on him. Otherwise, 2 tanks versus 1, I'd be toast. And I'll just knock out this guy who's on the flak gun. That was their only flag, so neutralizing it was a big hit to them, but they may have spawned in a lot of guys over in these houses. I'll continue sweeping through this flag if I can, and I'll see you on part 3 of Gazala.